What's up, Sneaky Nation? Sneaky P here, back with all of the news after the entire 2014 regular season of our Oakland Raiders franchise. The Raiders ended the season 4-12. You know, we didn't expect to be good. It's still disappointing to have that kind of record, though. But anyway, we have a lot to get done today, guys. Let's go ahead and start. We cannot do game prep. We don't have a game coming up, so there's no game prep to do. It's all locked, as you see here. But we have a lot to do because during today's episode, I'm going to show you the stats from all over the league, all of the awards, MVP, all of that, everything. So let's go ahead and get going here. As you can see here, Peyton Manning won the MVP. I'm not going to look at the top stories, though, because that might give away a whole lot. So no stories from there. Foregoing his senior season, I'm pretty sure we've already seen that as well. So let's move forward from there. Staff re-signing, I'm going to get into that next episode. No, Dennis Allen will not be returning as our head coach. We're going to have to find somebody else. Team trainer, we'll see if we find somebody else for that as well. One thing that kind of concerns me is the fact that we only have $6 million to spend on free agents and a coach. That is an issue, guys. That could make it very difficult for us to get some big players to come play. Actually, nearly impossible. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to have to wait and see how that all turns out by the time free agency rolls around. Certain players on our roster currently won't be back, so that's going to free up some room. But ultimately, we might be in a little bit of a bind. We might have to rely on rookies a lot more than I was hoping next season. Now, one thing that we do have going for us is by moving to Los Angeles, we are going to have a much bigger fan base to work with, which I'm hoping helps us sell more jerseys, make more money, and things along those lines. But for now, we could be in trouble. We'll get into all that later, though. Moving forward really quick, just because it's been bugging some people, I guess, a lot more than I would ever think, but to each their own. We're going to change some numbers around. The Anthony Thomas, a lot of people would like his number changed. Now, in college, I believe he wore number 6. In the NFL, he wears a different number. I forget what it is. But as you can see here, guys, we have no option to change it. I'd have to go change everybody else's number. I think Bruce Ellington actually wore 23 in college, so we can do that. But the Anthony Thomas is going to have to stay at 1 for now. We'll check back at the start of next season to see if the other numbers are still on our roster or not. But wide receiver, let's go change Bruce Ellington and edit player. Where are we at over here, buddy? All right, number 3, number 10, and again, I think we'll see now number 13. I don't know. And it's not giving us the option to put him at 23. So, you know, the NFL numbers are a little bit different than college numbers. Bruce Ellington in the NFL, I believe, is number 10, so we can do that. And what is, I want to say he might be number 13. Or no. Yeah, I think the Anthony Thomas is 13. I don't know. I forget, honestly. But we can't do it either way. It just boots us right to 23. So some of the numbers are taken. The rest, we can't do it based on position. I tried, guys. I'm sorry. But we do have Bruce Ellington changed. So that works. Anyway, that's the best I can do, guys. I apologize. Moving forward to the stats standings, as you see, we'll briefly glance over the standings. Why not? Let's see what we got. The Vikings, 14-1-1. Incredible season by the Vikings. Definitely not anticipated with all their questions at quarterback, but they made it happen this season, and they will be entering the playoffs with the best record. The Broncos, 14-2. Redskins, 13-3. Saints, 13-3. The 49ers, Patriots, and Buccaneers all at 11-5. The Jets, interesting there. 10-5-1, the Chiefs 10-6, Seahawks 10-6, the Steelers 9-6-1. A lot of ties this season. Bengals, Chargers, and Texans at 9-7. The Bears 8-7-1. Ravens, Giants, Cowboys all at 8-8. The Eagles 7-9. Falcons 6-9-1. The Lions, Panthers, Bills, and Packers all at 6-10. Jaguars at 5-10-1. The Colts, Rams, Cardinals, and as we know, the Raiders at 4-12. And the Dolphins at 3-11-2. They had 2 ties. That's crazy. So many ties this season. and the Browns and the Titans at 3 and 13. So, judging by this, we should have the 4th pick in the draft. I don't know if that's necessarily how it's based, or if there's... Because I would think if we're the bottom here, this would be the tiebreaker results already. So I'm thinking we have the 4th pick, but we could be somewhere in this area as well. But there we go. We got a lot to improve on, a lot to work on. Our offense did okay. If you look at all these teams here at the bottom, we scored a lot more than a lot of them, but our defense struggled. We have a lot to fix there. Going on to season stats, we're not going to look at that one. We're going to look at the league stats up here. But let's check out the awards. First of all, we have to do the weekly awards for week 17. We got Mike Glennon. I believe he had it in week 6, or yeah, he had it in week 15 too. Mike Glennon tearing it up, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns. Clay Matthews with 3 sacks and 10 tackles. Phillip Rivers. So the 2 NC State quarterbacks tearing the NFL apart in week 17. Phillip Rivers, 298, 3 touchdowns and an interception. And McCourty with 3 interceptions for the Patriots to go with 5 tackles. So moving on to yearly awards, guys. Let's get all of this out of the way here. Peyton Manning winning the MVP, as we saw earlier. Unbelievable career he has. Probably going to go down as arguably the best quarterback ever. He doesn't have the Super Bowls to back that up, but I don't know, man. He's been incredible for a very long time. And we'll see if he can get another one this year and improve his legacy that way. Drew Brees behind him. Adrian Peterson leading the Vikings to that 14-1-1 record. In third place, Tom Brady and the Patriots, 11-5. Robert Griffin III stepping up for the Redskins, and he will be 5th on the list. Jamal Charles at 6th. Mike Glennon stepping it up big time at 7th. Frank Gore, 8. Alfred Morris, 9. And Ryan Kerrigan, a defensive player, making the list. He must have had an incredible season for the Redskins. We'll get more into that later. Coach of the Year, we got Mike Zimmer, the rookie coach. The former defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals, leading the Vikings to that impressive record there. Jay Gruden, the former offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. So the Bengals making some mistakes letting these two guys go, because they have been doing a great job with their new teams here. That's really cool to see. John Fox, 3rd with the Broncos. Dusty McDonald, obviously, that's Sean Payton. We all know, and, Chad Masters down there. We get it. Lovie Smith at 5th. Belichick at 6th. Rex Ryan, 7. Andy Reid, 8. Jim Harbaugh, 9. And Marvin Lewis, 10. Let's go to the AFC players here. Offensive Player of the Year, Jamal Charles with the Chiefs. I'm going to start going through these a little bit quicker now. So you guys can just pause the video if you really want to read it all. But yeah, Peyton Manning, Ridley, Tom Brady, and Maurice Jones-Drew making the list at number 5. Gotta love that. A Raider. Definitely what I wanted to see there. And Geno Smith taking the Jets up there. That's pretty impressive. Defensive Player of the Year, Kiko Alonso. He torched us, got 2 interceptions against us, so we knew he'd be somewhere on this list. And sure enough, he is number 1. Outstanding second-year player for the Bills. Again, just kind of going down the list pretty quickly here. See if anybody really stands out. A lot of names you'd kind of expect to see along the list there. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Blake Bortles for the Jaguars. Sammy Watkins for the Bills. He had a huge play against us. Jason Morrow, he had a very good game against us as well. Derek Carr, number 4. Would have liked to be number 1, but, we'll take it. I think he might have been higher on the list had he not missed so many games. I think he missed 4 or 5 games for us, and we really struggled without him. He does make the list at number 4. Johnny Manziel at number 5. Marquise Lee, 6. And Bruce Ellington also making the list. Also might have been a little bit higher if it had not been for his injury. That's a little disappointing that he did get hurt, but I'm glad to see he's a top 10 offensive rookie of the year as well. Sankey and Jeremy Hill, another guy I like a lot. Defensive rookie of the year, there we go. Shazier leading the way, a great linebacker for the Steelers. And again, going down the list, Khalil Mack working his way up to number 3. He really was not all incredibly impressive for the majority of the season, but he came on very, very strong towards the end of the season. I think he had 4 or 5 sacks over the last 4 or 5 games. Really, really stepped his game up, and I am excited to see what he is going to do next season as we move to Los Angeles. Calvin Pryor, Clowney, Brooks, Keith McGill also on the list. Now, I would almost argue that Keith McGill had a better rookie season than Khalil Mack. It is what it is, though. He's here at number 7. I'm still happy that we got 2 players on the Offensive Rookie of the Year list and 2 players on the Defensive Rookie of the Year list. And hopefully we can continue to do that, because the more rookies that we have that are producing, the better our team is going to be in the future. Would have thought C.J. Mosley would be a little bit higher as well. Best quarterback, Peyton Manning. Again, I'm just going to kind of scroll through these pretty quickly at this point. I think it's a lot of names you'd kind of expect to see. Some might stand out a little bit there, like E.J. Manuel, again, Geno Smith. But for the most part, it's going to be names that we're used to seeing. Maurice Jones-Drew, number 3 on the list for running backs. I like that a lot. The Chargers have 2 guys on the list. Very impressive for them. They have Ryan Matthews and Danny Woodhead both stepping their game up big time. C.J. Spiller down there for the Bills. And wide receivers, Brandon LaFell. I like this guy a lot, guys. I knew he'd be great in New England, and he has proven it in this game as he lands the number 2 spot on the AFC wide receiver list. Demaryius Thomas and Wes Welker, teammates at 1 and 3. Keenan Allen at 4. I like that. Torrey Smith at 5. Gordon at 6. A.J. Green 7. Blackman, Brown, and Johnson rounding out the rest of that unit there. Here we have the offensive line. Again, a lot of names you'd kind of expect to see here. Logan Mankins and the Patriots. Oops. DeBrickashaw Ferguson making the list. Chandler Jones leading the way for the Patriots on defense there. DeMarcus Ware coming over from the Cowboys, having a very good season for the Broncos. Jerry Hughes for the Bills. Pat Sims on the list at number 4. Justin Tuck on the list at number 5. And Shelby Harris, the rookie, at number 8. 3 players on that list from the Raiders. We did do one thing well, and that was put pressure on the quarterback. Granted, it wasn't always. It was a little bit inconsistent, but we got a lot of sacks throughout the season, and these 3 players are a huge reason why. So very cool to see them get some recognition there, especially Shelby Harris. I'm excited about him as he will be the full-time starter next season for us. Defensive back again. Still have that linebacker glitch. I don't understand why they don't put that in the game. It doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, Devin McCourty leading the way for the Patriots. A lot of Patriots players on defense had very good seasons apparently. Marcus Cooper for the Chiefs. I love seeing that he got second on this list. He had a pick 6 against us in our first meeting against the Chiefs. So very cool to see him so high up on the list. Chris Harris Jr. here at number 3. I believe he had an interception against us as well, if I remember correctly. Sean Smith, Stephen Gilmore, Leon Hall, Raheem Moore, Delmas, Joseph, and Mitchell rounding out the rest of that unit. And kicker Sebastian Janikowski, number 1 kicker in the AFC for the Raiders. I love to see that. A lot of names you'd kind of expect to see. David Akers still getting it done, and Gostkowski way down here at number 9. Definitely thought he'd be a little bit higher. Moving on to the NFC again, just going to kind of go through it pretty quickly here. Adrian Peterson, the Offensive Player of the Year for the NFC. Drew Brees behind him. Frank Gore, baby. LaShawn McCoy, Alfred Morris, Forte, Lynch. Mike Glennon, is Mike Glennon? Oh, Mike Glennon's the 2nd quarterback on the list. I like it. Robert Griffin III and Doug Martin. Defensive Player of the Year, Ryan Kerrigan leading the way for the Redskins. And again, he was the only defensive player in the MVP voting, top 10, so that's really cool. We'll have to see that later. DJ Williams, Patrick Willis at number 3 for the 49ers. Cameron Jordan at 4 for the Saints. Tolik, don't celebrate that ranking on the list too much there, man. Harrison Smith at 6, Bird at 7, Washington Foster, and Cole rounding out the top 10 there. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Mike Evans for the Buccaneers. A player, I think he's going to be pretty good. Carlos Hyde, 2nd on the list, so it's pretty cool to see that he had a big impact in the 49ers offense, even with Frank Gore, obviously on the Offensive Player of the Year list for the 49ers. So, two-headed running game, much like real life. It's cool to see. Fails, I believe. Fails? I don't know. At number 3 for the Bears. Kelvin Benjamin, a guy that I think is going to be very good for the Panthers. The great tight end out of North Carolina for the Lions there. Trey Mason. Adams, Carey, Beckham Jr., and Cooks rounding out the lot there. A lot of rookie wide receivers. A lot of them I think are going to have very good careers. So it's good times for the NFL in the receiving category. Clinton Dix leading the way for the Defensive Rookie of the Year from the Packers. Joyner at number 2 there for the Rams. Buchanan at 3 for the Cardinals. Lawrence for the Cowboys. Kyle Fuller out of Virginia Tech, a guy I think is going to be pretty good, is at number 5. Aaron Donald as we round out the rest of the unit here. Jimmy Ward for the 49ers. I like it. I like it a lot. Best quarterback, Breeze, Glennon, Stafford, Robert Griffin III, Kaepernick, Castle, Wilson, Foles. It was actually Castle, not Teddy Bridgewater, at the helm for the Vikings, as we see there. Nick Foles, Matt Ryan, and Eli Manning, the top 10. Running back, Adrian Peterson, Frank Gore, Alfred Morris, Shady McCoy, Forte, Lynch, Doug Martin, Pierre Thomas, Eddie Lacy, and Evan Royster. So 2 players here for the Redskins. Very interesting to see that. It is working for them as they had that 13-3 record. Wide receiver Robert Meacham. That's an interesting one right there. And Colston. So teammates 1 and 2 here for the Saints. They had an incredible passing attack this season. As we saw earlier with Breeze being very high up on the list as well. Calvin Johnson Jr. at number 3. Vincent Jackson at 4. Julio Jones 5. Mike Evans, the rookie, number 6 on the list. Anquan Bolden at 7. Jeffrey 8. Patterson and Garcon rounding out the top 10 there. Offensive line, going through it kind of quickly. Joe Staley, Mike Iupati, a lot of 49ers. I like it. Carl Nix down here, and Anthony Davis with Evans. A lot of players you would expect to see. Cameron Jordan, best defensive lineman for the Saints there. Quinn, number 2. Jason Pierre-Paul, number 3. Houston, a lot of names you kind of expect to see. I keep saying it, but it's true. It usually is the first season of the game. After that, it might switch up a little bit. Charles Johnson there for the Panthers, like to see that. And Michael Johnson for the Buccaneers. Defensive back, Charles Tillman, Jarius Byrd, Earl Thomas III, Harrison Smith, Culliver making the list. That's interesting. Definitely was not expecting that. Trufant, Jenkins, Hayward, Cox, and Brown rounding out the top 10 there. Jay Feely leading the way, best kicker for the NFC. Dan Bailey at number 2. Zerline, number 3. Crosby, Dawson, Hoshka, Gould, Gano, or Cano. I don't know why I said that. I know his name. Brown and Walsh rounding out the top 10 there. On to stats. We can't look at the Pro Bowl yet. We'll get there. We will check that out in the next video as I do a playoff video. League stats. So first we'll go through our team, because obviously our team gets glitched out of the NFL stats for some reason. So we'll look at our team first, and then we'll move forward with the rest of the league. Derek Carr leading the way, 14 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, 1,700 yards. Missed 4 or 5 games, in which case Schaub and Shaw both stepped in, and Carr didn't even get to start right off the bat. I think Schaub started out our first few games, if I remember correctly, and then he went down with an injury, and Carr stepped up and played great, so we gave him the starting job. So, 1,700 yards, but he almost missed half the season. Not quite, but just about. So, not bad. Not bad at all. 14 touchdowns again. You can see how much we struggled without him. He has a positive touchdown to interception ratio, whereas Schaub and Shaw do not. 5 touchdowns to 9 interceptions for Schaub. Oh my gosh, I cannot even speak right now. I apologize. Connor Shaw, 3 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. He filled in his first game and played great. I was really excited about him, but unfortunately it did not continue, as he struggled greatly after that. Maurice Jones-Drew, almost 1,300 yards for the veteran. Gotta love that production. McFadden behind him, over 500. DeAnthony Thomas almost got 100 yards. If you're looking at yards per carry, I'm pretty happy though. 4.4 and 4.6. I mean, it's not great. I'd like to get 5, but it's solid enough. One thing that does kind of worry me, and I'll get to that in 1 second. 10 rushing touchdowns on the season. 6 for Maurice Jones-Drew, 3 more for McFadden, and 1 for Derek Carr. And the one thing that kind of worries me is 20-yard gains. Only one. Only one. I need to figure out a way to adjust the sliders that we can break off more 20-yard plus runs without this number getting stupid. Like, I don't want to have that at like 6 or 7 yards a carry. But we need to figure out some way to do that. I'll have to play with the sliders a little bit, see if we can make that happen, because that's not realistic. Teams are going to bust out a lot more than 1 20-yard carry throughout the season. Definitely worries me a little bit. Denarius Moore, our one legit receiving threat, only 71 catches and 782 yards. I would have liked to have a 1,000-yard receiver, but, he was solid for us all season long. It's interesting that our fullback was second on our list in receptions. He will be playing tight end for us next season, though, unless I find a really good one in the draft, in which case, I don't know, I might just put him as the backup tight end and the starting fullback and see if I can utilize him that way. McFadden, Ellington was actually doing okay for us until he got hurt, I will say, and Owusu was pretty solid for us. Edwards was inconsistent. He was either incredible or terrible. Ultimately, though, the only wide receivers I'm really thinking of bringing back are Denarius Moore, Ellington, and Owusu. Ellington and Owusu should be fairly cheap anyway. Armonte Edwards, I will look into bringing back depending on how much he costs. We're going to be very tight on money. But he has big play capability, as we saw in his first game with the Raiders. So if I were to improve his catch and we can eliminate all those drops, he could be a very dangerous weapon for us. So we'll definitely look into that. Blocking, pancakes, I believe. No, I thought it was Gabe Jackson that led that category for us. But it was Donald Penn leading the way, our left tackle there. Burnett leading our team in tackles with 96. Branch with 92. Charles Woodson, the veteran, with 91. Khalil Mack, 78. And tackles for loss, 16. Wow, so he actually led our team in tackles for losses. Again, he picked up 5 sacks. I want to say in the last 5 games, he picked up a sack a game. So really stepped it up big time towards the end of the season. Pat Sims with 12 sacks. Justin Tuck, Woodley, and Harris all with 11. Antonio Smith, with 7. C.O. Moore with 7. That probably would have been higher had it not been for his injury. Khalil Mack with 5. Wilson with 3. Branch and McGill with 2. Burnett with 1. Usama Young with 1, and Dowling with 1 as well. Interceptions, Carlos Rogers with 4, DJ Hayden with 4, Charles Woodson with 3, McGill with 2, and C.O. Moore with 1. Fumbles forced, I think we looked at this not too long ago, and C.O. Moore just destroyed people in that category. I love it. Fumbles recovered, Charles Woodson with 2. Touchdowns, we had Shelby Harris get a touchdown, Tyvon Branch with a touchdown, and Keith McGill with a touchdown. Kicking, check that out really fast. 19 of 21, long of 51 for Janikowski. Punting, 70. Oh, man, Marquette King absolutely destroyed the league with punting. He was unbelievable. Longest punt, 87 yards. Where's the thing that says how many inside the 20? 44 punts inside the 20. Unbelievable. Raiders, Josh Huff actually had the highest yards per return. I didn't feel like that, though. I don't know why. For whatever reason, when he was returning, it just did not seem like that. Thomas with 20. 19 for Taiwan Jones. 18.7 for Bruce Ellington, and Rivera with 9. I forget how that came about. Lynch didn't return a kick. I don't know why he's there. He's been hurt since we signed him. 9.9 yards per punt return for DeAnthony Thomas, 6.8 for Huff. Maybe that's what I was thinking of, but the former Oregon teammates there. Moving on to the NFL as I run out of breath here. Again, I told you this would be a longer episode. Passing touchdowns, or rating could be a little skewed. So let's look at yards. Peyton Manning, Breeze, Stafford, Brady, Glennon, Geno Smith, Dalton, Ryan, and Blake Bortles is our first rookie down here. Passing touchdowns. How many passing yards was that? 4,200. My goodness. Wow. Touchdowns, 30 for Drew Brees. Only 12 interceptions. 29 and 13 for Peyton Manning. 28 and 16 for Tom Brady. Mike Glennon, 21 and 10. Very, very proficient there. I like that. Stafford at 19 and 19. Geno Smith, 18 and 13. Roethlisberger, 18 and 11. Phillip Rivers, 18 and 14. Alex Smith, 17 and 6. EJ Manuel, 17 and 20. 15 and 13 for Foles. Derek Carr, 14 and 11, as we know. And where's Kaepernick? Way down here. Oh, man. Cam Newton, 13 and 20. Kaepernick, 13 and 4. Not a lot of touchdown passes for Kaepernick there. Rushing. Adrian Peterson, nearly 2,000 yards. Unbelievable. 1,900. Oh, my gosh. He was so close to 2,000 yards. Wow. 5.4 yards a carry. Frank Gore, 1,800 yards. Almost 1,900 yards. The guy just does not give up. Unbelievable. Jamal Charles, 1,700 yards. Just about 5.7 yards a carry for Jamal Charles. Unbelievable there. Nearly 1,500 yards for both Forte and Morris. Marshawn Lynch, nearly 1,400. And we have Maurice Jones-Drew down here. Let's check out rushing touchdowns. Peterson, Charles, Forte, and Lacey with 11. Royster. So look how many rushing touchdowns the Redskins had. 19 between Royster and Alfred Morris. Unbelievable. That's not even including Robert Griffin. You know he ran the ball in a lot. So interesting enough there. As we go down the list, Frank Gore was 7. Marshawn Lynch and Maurice Jones-Drew was 6. I kind of want to see how... Well, let's wait. Yeah, I wanted to see Carlos Hyde. He had 4. Again, if you want to see the stats closely, just hit that pause button. Because don't have the time to examine each and every person, unfortunately. Robert Meacham leading the NFL in catches with 93. Very cool to see there. 1,300 yards, about halfway between 1,300 and 1,400. 12 touchdowns. Wow. Demaryius Thomas, Calvin Johnson Jr., Wes Welker, A.J. Green. A lot of names you just kind of are used to seeing up here. Jace Amaro, the rookie tight end. 81 catches. Unbelievable. 7 touchdowns. Great player out of Texas Tech for the Jets, and they are in the playoffs as it still has that rookie mark next to him. Down the list, just to kind of get some names up here, and there's our first player, Denarius Moore. And actually he had more catches than Eric Decker. That's hilarious. Touchdown receptions, Robert Meacham 12, LaFell with 11, Wes Welker with 10, Vincent Jackson 9, Julio Jones 9, and Colston with 9. Smith and Evans each with 8. Amaro, Allen, Thomas, and Calvin Johnson Jr. with 7. Blocking, we can look at pancakes. Why not? 11 for Joe Staley and 11 with Penn. So Penn was right up there with the best in the NFL. Defense, DJ Williams, 163 tackles. One guy we'll find Kerrigan here in a minute. But yeah, here's some of the leaders in this category. Kiko Alonso up there. Going down the list, anybody that stands out? There's Kuechly. Anyway, there. Got a rookie way up here. I like it. Sacks, let's check this out. 20 for Ryan Kerrigan, and that is why he was so high on that list. Cameron Jordan with 19, Quentin Groves with 19, Mathis with 15, Robert Quinn with 13, Peppers, the 2 North Carolina guys, Peppers with 12, just going down the list, a lot of 12s. Clowney with 10 in his rookie season, pretty impressive, and those are all the 10-sack guys there. Interceptions, who led the NFL, Charles Tillman with 8, McCourty with 6, Cooper with 6, Bird with 6, Johnson, Hayward, and Harris Jr. Oh, I'm sorry, a lot with 5. I was about to list them all, but there's just many of these, so I'll just scroll down a little bit. Laurinaitis with 5, that's interesting. Mayo with 4. Terrell Brown, we traded him, and we had a pretty good season for the Jaguars. We did get a good pick for it, so I'm okay with that, but get to see what our guy that we traded did. DJ Hayden and Carlos Rogers each with 4. So Hayden had as many interceptions, replacing him there. Fumbles forced, and C.O. Moore would be the league leader. He is the league leader. He's just not showing up here, but that's pretty cool to see. Fumbles recovered. So Charles Woodson, all right, he did show up on the list with 2. Let's go ahead and check out touchdowns here. 2 for Walls. That's the only player with more than 1. And I bet there's a lot of these guys. Not too many, but there's a few. Safeties. Is Justin Tuck. We know Justin Tuck was on here too, but the rookie for the Steelers stepping up again. Blocks. 2 blocks for Donald Butler. All right, Gilchrist with 1. So the Chargers special team is really doing well there. Blackburn with 1, Jones with 1, and Dunbar with 1. Kicking. Let's go all the way over here. This might be a 2-part episode. I don't know. It's running on a long time. So you might just be watching the second part of it now as I say this, but we'll see. 41 of 45 for Phil Dawson. Let's check out the long. 52 for Prater. Punting. Average. And not even close. Not even close. Marquette King killed it. Let's see. Kick return. 3 return touchdowns for Randall Cobb, Sproles, Hilton, Adams, Brown, Cox, Odell Beckham Jr., the rookie, with 1, Todman with 1, McKinnon, a rookie, with 1, and Ted Ginn Jr. with 1. Punt return. Check out the touchdowns here. Man, I have something in my throat. It's driving me nuts. Dexter McCluster with 1. Adam Jones with 1. Giovanni Bernard, I love it, with 1. Amendola. Odell Beckham Jr., another one. Kick return and a punt return. So very good for the rookie there. And Cordell Patterson. Ugh, I cannot speak today. I'm so sorry. With 1. That is going to be it for this episode. I told you it would be a doozy, but we had a lot we had to show. But yeah, guys, that is going to round out our first season under the Raiders. Obviously, next season we will be the Los Angeles Crusaders. But if you enjoyed this season, guys, please hit that like button. It helps me out so much. It helps my channel grow, which in turn could potentially make it so I can put out videos more often. But yeah, thanks for all the support throughout the season, guys. You are unbelievable. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you guys in the next video as we simulate the playoffs. That probably won't be very long, but it'll be interesting nonetheless, at least for me, I think. And then after that, we have our off season where changes are going to be made. So I will see you guys then. Later.